In the previous video, when we are trying to make a communication with the backend server from our UI Angular application, we got an error indicating CORS. CORS means cross origin resource sharing. That means applications with two different origins, they're trying to communicate with each other. So let's try to see what is CORS in detail in this video. CORS is a protocol that enables scripts running on a browser client to interact with resources from a different origin. For example, if a UI app wishes to make an API call running on a different domain, so different domain can be a different host name, different port number. It would be blocked by default due to CORS policy in all the browsers that we are using today. So CORS, as we think, it's not a security attack or security issue. It's the default protection provided by our browsers so that applications which are hosted in two different hosts or ports or two different domain names will be stopped communicating with each other. So that's a default behavior. So when we say origin means it can be HTTP or HTTPS and domain name and port. If any services or applications which differ in any of these three parameters like HTTP or HTTPS protocol, domain name, port number, they will be treated as cross origin, that these two different applications are not belongs to a same origin. Like you see in the diagram, a UI app which has a domain name as domain 1 is trying to consume a service which is hosted on domain2.com. So since this is satisfying CORS policy, by default, browser will stop the communication between these two applications, indicating that there might be a security breach may happen. But there might be a very valid reason why two different applications hosted on two different servers, ports needs to communicate in any application. Particularly, this is most frequent approach in microservices pattern. Long back, when we are used to build our application in monolithic approach where everything is deployed into a single server, like both your UI pages, backend, REST services, everything stays on the same host and same port number. So there is no problem of cost there. But these days, when we are building application using microservices pattern where the services will be hosted somewhere, your UI application will be hosted somewhere, your mobile application will be hosted in the Play Store. So in all such scenarios, there is a good chance CORS policy will come into picture and will stop your communication. But you have a very valid reason to communicate because all those are your applications and you don't want the browser to stop that communication due to CORS policy. To overcome that challenge, whatever backend server that is trying to share the data to the UI has to configure properly so that cross origin will be accepted by your browser. So this can be achieved by making some configurations on the backend with the following properties. So one of the property that you have to set is access control allow origin. So this is the property where you are telling request and response sharing from a particular origin has to be shared and no CORS restriction should be applied. Star indicates that means any origin or any application, any website can communicate with my backend server, which is a not recommended approach. Always clearly define your host name's port name instead of star. And you can also fine grain control like what HTTP methods has to be allowed, like only get or only post in the CORS origin request. We can also define headers, credentials, and maximum time that this CORS policy has to be accepted by caching the details inside the browser. So when we define all these details on your server, then your browser since knows, okay, my backend responded with these details which are related to CORS communication and it will start communicating with the backend server without throwing a CORS issue. So it's very simple. First, your browser will make a pre-flight request to the backend server whether CORS policy is allowed or not. When your backend server responded with all these parameters, okay, these are the origins that I want to allow, these are the methods, these are the headers, credentials, your browser can understand, okay, this communication between the UI and the backend application is approved by the backend and it will not throw any CORS error. So now we have complete clear idea what is cross origin resource sharing issue. Let's try to fix this issue using Spring Security Framework and resolve the CORS error that we are getting inside our application. So as you can see, both our applications fall into two different origins because the port name is different. The UI port that I have 4200 and the backend port that I have 8080 is different. That's why my browser is treating them as two different origins. If I want the communication to happen, definitely on the backend side, I have to make configurations to pass all these parameters so that my browser can trust this communication and will not throw any CORS issue. Let's try to make that code change in the next video. Thank you. Bye.